everyone, and welcome to Experience Beyond podcast. In today's episodes, we are diving into a crucial topic for businesses looking to thrive in a rapidly evolving world. I'm Anand Nigam, your host, co-founder and director of XEBO.ai. At XEBO, we are passionate about transforming customer experiences through AI-driven cutting-edge technology, helping organizations to turn insights into meaningful strategies. The topic of today's podcast is the future of customer experience and service culture. To explore this exciting subject, I'm honored to welcome a global leader in service excellence and customer experience, Ron Kaufman. Welcome, Ron.
It's a pleasure to be here with you. Thank you.
So, Ron, I've got a brief resume of yours for my audience, which I'll read out for their sake. So, Ron, you are a world-renowned educator, best-selling author, and customer service guru who has spent over 4 decades shaping the way organizations think about service culture. As the founder of Uplifting Service, you have worked with businesses, governments, and institutions worldwide, helping them build high-performing service cultures that drive long-term success. Beyond your professional achievement, you have passion for service going beyond boardrooms, whether it's pioneering the global expansion of Ultimate Frisbee or dedicating yourself to environmental conservation through reef cleaning. Your philosophy is very clear, which is when we serve better, we create better world. So thank you for joining today to share your insights and experience and how organizations can build culture of service that stands test of time. So Ron, it's a pleasure to have you on my show. Welcome.
Well, it's an honor and a privilege to be here with you and with all of your viewers and listeners.
Hope I have not missed out on anything which is important about
please. Let's be here in the moment with each other. People can find me online. My name is spelled Ronkaufman, and that's the website address. So if you'd like more, it's complimentary. It's all over the web on video. It's in blogs. It's in articles. It's in white papers. Help yourself. Meanwhile, right now, let's get into being here with each other.
Awesome, Ron. So you know the topic for today's conversation, it's about future customer experience and service culture. So
Right.
My first question to you is, you have worked with organizations across the globe, helping them transform their service culture. What sparked your passion for customer experience, and how has your perspective evolved over the years?
Fantastic question. And I just have to answer first by saying, my life has been what I would say, looking back, truly blessed. I started out with a grandmother who taught kindergarten for 40 years. And she only had one child, my dad. He had 5 kids. We were like the private kindergarten. And every once in a while, we would get invited to be the extra teacher's pet in her classroom. And so I got to watch my grandmother just pouring love and attention and concern for these little kids into so many people. It infused me. It's a form of service. I think she called it love. And then as I moved up and I got into high school, we discovered this sport called Ultimate Frisbee. And when I went to Brown University, I was the first captain of the Ultimate Frisbee team. And I ended up doing Frisbee professionally for 8 years after college, taking people all over the world. But the first rule of Ultimate Frisbee is called the spirit of the game. And what it says is not how big is the field or how do you score a point or what's allowed or what's not allowed. It says that the players on the field are responsible for the spirit and the quality of play. Oh my goodness. So I learned there that service, care, taking care of one another, creating a great game, having a valuable time together, it not only had to do with love, but it had to do with play and respect for the other. Then I came to Singapore in 1990 to help the government improve the quality of service and the value of services throughout the entire nation. And that led to a career of flying all over the world and helping, as you said, government agencies and companies and nonprofit organizations. And I ended up writing a sentence: service is taking action to create value for someone. And so that coupling of the idea of service, not to love, not to play, but to value, became very clear, very important. And of course, that's what companies want to focus on to create more value, higher profit, price premium, top line, bottom line. But after the pandemic, I would say that the world has been evolving. This is the fourth and not the final stage, maybe, but it's the stage I think we're in now, where people are not only concerned with create value for you so that you'll pay me and be a repeat customer, but be committed to and take care of your well-being. And your well-being is not just in the moment of transaction, it's also now and into the future. So when we say that we care about something or we care about someone, then there's a sense of concern, but also commitment to your well-being. And when we say take good care, or when we promise our company will take good care of you and your concerns and your aspirations and your anxieties and your needs, it means that we're going to take action to create value, which you're going to appreciate because it contributes to your well-being. So this evolution from grandmother to frisbee to service to care is the answer to your question. I've just been incredibly fortunate to have what I just said actually be the experience of my life.
It's awesome. Very powerful words. You started with love, talked about the spirit of the game, quality of the game, and then moving into action, which is more about service culture. So creating actions to create value is, I think, fundamental to creating that kind of culture. And it's not just commitment for today, it's commitment for even future. So these are very powerful words. Thank
That's
you for
right.
sharing. And Ron, the customer expectations are shifting faster than ever. So what are the biggest mindset changes or shifts businesses need to make today compared to what they used to do about, say, a decade back?
Yeah, I think, if we look back, the whole idea of competitive position and differentiation from the competitive offer and what does it take to sell, and what does it take to close the deal, and what's the profit on that deal, and how can I minimize my costs on it and increase the margin, and all of it has, not all, but the focus was really on don't make mistakes. That was all Six Sigma, zero defects, and then serve the customer in a way that we hope they're going to recommend us. That was the whole net promoter score. But it was all predicated on you're not only satisfied with this transaction, you might even be delighted. You might even find it to be an ecstatic experience or even an unbelievable moment of serving you. So the action that creates value was outstanding. And what I'm proposing now is two changes. Number one is that the service provider, now whether that's a company to a customer or a client, or whether it's a colleague to another colleague in the same department or even across departments, that your focus can't just be on fulfilling conditions of satisfaction, meeting the service level agreement, delivering what was promised, completing the transaction in a way that the other party is going, thank you, I'm satisfied. But you've got to be looking behind the reason for their request in the first place. What is it that they're really concerned about? What is it that they really want to achieve? What are their dreams? What are their hopes? What are their ambitions? What are their aspirations? What are their concerns? What are their worries? What are their fears? They may not even bring them up. But if you, as the service provider, cannot just listen to the request or listen to the question, but listen to what's going on behind that request or that question. Where is that coming from? What are they concerned about? Because they may ask you in the form of, this is what I need, this is what I want, but they won't necessarily tell you or be able to tell you, longer term, this is actually what I'm trying to achieve. Over time, this is what I'm actually concerned about. When I think about the future, this is what I really want. And so I'm going to try and break it down to turn it into a request to go find a service provider who can do this thing for me. Well, if you're that service provider and all you're focusing on is do that thing for you, that's a service exchange, action that creates value. But if you as a service provider can uplift your perspective, uplift your curiosity about the customer or the colleague, if you can go to evolve to another level of being concerned and committed to that customer or colleague's future well-being, now and into the future, because now just became the past, just became the past, just became the past. So when I say care is commitment to future well-being, I don't mean not now as well, but not only now. And that, I think, is a big change and a big difference between the way businesses in the past were just seeking to, get the top line and have the quarter be profitable and, show at the end of the year, a big bonus. Now we've got to be thinking much more long term because our customers are going to live a lot longer than just the current moment.
That's very deep. In fact, you are advocating not just changing or bringing about changes in what is verbally said by the customers, but understanding the meaning behind why they are saying something, which will have not just an impact today, but even take care of the customers tomorrow.
And in our global world, different people come from very different backgrounds. So you need to be genuinely curious, not just about, let me be clear about exactly what you want, but let me be really clear about what is it you're actually trying to achieve and where does that come from? Different cultures, for example, have very different appetites for risk, for clarity. They have different appetites for flexibility, for change, for et cetera, et cetera. In other words, what they value isn't just what they tell you. It's like, where do they come from? What's that all about? What industry are they in? What was their prior experience with other vendors? What's going on in their world in terms of priorities, in terms of scheduling, in terms of budget, maybe in terms of even internal politics within the organization? If you don't know any of that, you never asked, you weren't curious, then any one of those things during the service delivery process could come up and could literally blindside your ability to produce the intended satisfaction or delight that you and your team want to provide.
Yeah, and that's very deep actually. When you talk about service culture rather just customer service, and you talked about having clarity, flexibility, ability to change, identifying priorities, and so on. What truly defines strong service culture, and how can companies move beyond policies to create a real lasting impact?
That's a fabulous question because what you're really asking is, how do I build a culture where people are continuously curious about the people that they're serving? And so then the focus is on the experience of the recipient of my actions, the person who's intended to benefit from whatever it is I'm doing. Well, notice the shift there. Then my focus as a service provider, as a colleague, as somebody inside an organization can't only be on what's my process, what's my procedure, what's the next step, when is this thing required, how do I complete the task. I'm not saying those aren't important. Of course they are. That's operational excellence. But if all you have is operational excellence, you could have a team of people saying, we hit all of our KPIs. We did everything right. But they may be oblivious to what was the actual experience of that customer in receiving the service. Because your customer doesn't live in the world of your process, your procedure, your KPIs, and your SLAs. They live on the other side of all that action. And so if your people become extremely curious about how was that for you? Did that deliver what you were looking for? What else were you concerned about that we may not have yet addressed? We're coming to a decision point here. Let's have a good conversation about what the possible consequences might be of this or that. Okay, you say you want to go this way, but we've never done it that way before. Why don't we do this? Let's take the first steps, and then I'm going to check with you again. How's it going on your side? That kind of curiosity will not only increase productivity because it'll save waste because your people won't be doing things that the customer doesn't actually value, but it would also very much help you clarify which are the next steps that we should take that will create added value. So the definition of service that I wrote was service is taking action to create value for someone else. Of course, if you take it for yourself, it's called self-service.
Right.
But the definition of uplifting service, which is the name of my brand and the service we provide, uplifting service is taking the next action to create more value for someone you care about. Uplifting service is taking the next action. You've never taken it before. You may not even know yet what it is that will create more value. Oh, wait a minute. Different people value different things. Even the same person could value something different at a different moment in time. So it's taking the next action to create more value. I better be pretty curious as the service provider to figure out what that next action is and what would be that more value that the recipient, could be a customer, could be a colleague, will appreciate for someone I care about, someone whose well-being now and into the future matters to me. That's the kind of thinking and spirit that you want to build inside an organization. And then you can say, we really have an uplifting service culture.
Absolutely. In fact, I come across a lot of organizations which, to your point, are completely focused on operational excellence. So they are ticking the boxes like having AI and automation and all, which will help them to create fast, efficient processes and excellence operationally. However, they miss the trick because the culture, it's more about uplifting, and you talked about that, uplifting service to create more value for your customers, not for just today, but even for their expectations and expectations for tomorrow.
And you know what? It may not yet be even their expectations. They don't even know yet what to expect for tomorrow, but it could be their aspirations. It could be their concerns. It could be, in other words, human beings have authentic concerns in all kinds of different domains of life, but we don't necessarily translate them into, so therefore I expect, until a bit further down in the thinking. And you as a service provider, if you can be a participant, a collaborator in that thinking, that puts you in a completely different position where you're not just competing with other service providers.
And that brings to my next question, because we talked about going beyond operational excellence, and that's where like AI and automation, they are reshaping customer interactions at scale, which is all about operational excellence. But where should businesses draw a line between digital efficiencies and irreplaceable human touch that we bring to customer service?
You know, I think the way you pose that question, let's just step back and take a look at it, because you said, where should they draw the line? Well, that implies that this is kind of, binary. It's like this or that. No, we all live in a world infused with technology. And that's been true for human beings since we figured out how to pick up a rock and hit something and make the nut break open. Then the rock was our first technology. We just happen to be alive in a historical era in which the technology is amazing. I mean, the evolution, the power, thank goodness we get to be alive and experience it. What a gift. If you're a service provider and you've got these incredibly powerful tools that we've never even had before, you're calling it digital efficiency. Well, it's a tool set and it has a possibility, et cetera. And then who's that really for? Humans. And who's ultimately going to assess whether or not it created value? Humans. And what you're asking is, okay, but if I'm the service provider, should I just let the technology do it? Or should I have the human being in there? Like, that's the human touch. And so as I've thought about this and watched this AI era evolve, at this moment, I can see three places where it's really important to have a human touch, but it can work this closely with the technology. So it's not draw a line, it's, it can be together. And the first one is when you're introducing something new to let's say a customer. And that customer, like we said, it's a human being. It's not just another machine. If it's a machine to machine, it's a different story. So when I'm introducing something to you, I could do a great job by having AI produce a video. I could have AI, tell you in any language and in any tone of voice that you want all about it. AI can generate the slide set that will take, it will listen to your questions and give you answers. But none of that is going to be the same as if a human being looks you in the eye and says, got it, that's a great question. Let me just check, so what you're really concerned about is this, and what you want to achieve is that, and how does that feel to you? And, a human to human in introducing something new can be very, very helpful, because the human that would be the customer, the buyer, doesn't know about that before. It's kind of like when you interview somebody for a job and you're the HR department, you want that interviewee, they're like the customer, come join us. This is a good place for you to work. You're great talent. We want you. So then should just the AI system do that? Or do you think ultimately that human being who may or may not take the job should have the opportunity to talk to a human being? What's it really like working in there? What's the culture like? Well, what about this? And have that human sense person to person. So on the introduction side, I think there's a role for humans. The second is when you're migrating your existing customers into a new way of being served, there's an educational component that needs to happen there. And it's not always an easy lift for the customer. So I give you an example. I mean, there are apps that I look at today and I go, I'll get my kid to help me because she can go, oh, Dad, it's like this. Or my wife, who's a genius at this stuff, she goes, oh, it works like this, like this, like that. Okay. So what if the service provider, the company, the organization, the government agency, let's say the bank, wants to get me out of coming to the branch? They want me to use the ATM. Oh, now they don't want me to use the ATM. They want me to go to online. Oh, now they don't want me to go to online. They want me to use the app. Okay. So if we look, for example, at banking, you've got this customer segmentation over the years. And frankly, it's the older customers who have accumulated wealth. And these people may have been with the bank for a long time. And they've got a range of accounts. And you've got their assets under management. You got their loans. You got their savings. You got all kinds of different things. And now you, as the bank, want to reduce costs. You want to improve efficiency. You want to get them out of the branch. So you close the branch. Whoa, wait a minute. I like going to the branch. I like talking to Sally over the counter. Sorry, branch is closing. But you're going to have a great experience online. You're going to have a great experience using the app. Oh, boy. Now you got this person picking up the phone and looking at it, and they might be a little concerned. That's where the bank should put human beings, like let's use Sally, get her out from around one side of the counter, sit down in a comfortable chair with those customers as they come in and go, hi, listen, in a month's time, this branch is going to be closing. I wanted to spend a little time with you and make sure you can get comfortable with how to do banking. It's so easy now on your phone. You've got your phone. Great. Come on, bring it out. Let's do this together and create this moment of human interaction in which human to human, the service provider can do things like, okay, so you start by just, you put, exactly, that's right. Now over here, right, we fill that in with your account number. You know that. Okay, good, right? Okay, now look at how the menu works. Right. What's that? Let me explain. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, but you want the one below it. Click. And, by the time the transaction is complete, this human is saying to the customer, I knew you could get this. You're good at it. This is going to be easy. Now, the truth is that customer may need to come back and have that kind of human to human experience a couple of times. But at a certain point, there's been a migration. There's been an education. There's been an encouragement. And that customer has become comfortable with the new digital technology. But how did that comfort get produced? A human helped. And the third is when something goes wrong. So you got introduction, you got education and migration, and then you got recovery. So when something goes wrong, I really don't want to talk to a chatbot. The moment something goes wrong, boom, I want a human service provider to show up, and I want that human service provider to already have visibility on everything I was trying to do, everything I did wrong, and the source of the problem. So there's digital technology that's going to help me, but not like draw a line here. The tech is going to help you and not the human. No, the human's going to show up at that right moment. Let's not waste time, but with the right technological background and understanding to be able to help resolve my problem.
So it's, I think, a mix of both. Technology is a great enabler, while human touch is where you create love and bond, kindness.
And understanding and personal care and attention and this evolution of trust and desire to keep working together.
Absolutely. So when we look at customer experience, it looks more an external, you are bringing about an external change in customer excellence. And you talk about customer culture or service culture, and culture is a lot within the organization. So for organizations or leaders to cultivate a workforce that's not just trained to service, but genuinely, be committed to delivering great customer experiences, right, is a completely different ballgame.
Yes. Well, let's say that it's the next ballgame.
Okay.
So it's
So
a bit like,
how do you think the leaders can cultivate that kind of culture within the organization?
yeah, yeah. You know, life is always in the process of evolution. Our societies are always evolving. Our technologies are evolving. Our ability to live in good health is evolving. Our relationship with the ecology on the planet is evolving. And it's not always better, better, better. No, we need to learn along the way. So, for example, you use the phrase trained in service. And I think training is very important. You train people what to do. And so if you have a process, a procedure, there's a pilot that's going to fly an airplane, put the person in a simulator and train them so that they know what to do, right? But in service, because customers change their minds, situations change, different customers want different things at different times. I don't think just training is going to do the job. I think we need to educate people about service. Now, what's education? Education is I'm going to teach you how to think so that in a service situation, you can do the analysis, you can do the evaluation, you can have the imagination supported by various tools. That's the training part. Here's how the principle works. Here's how the language works. Here's how the technology works. But ultimately, I want to educate you so that you can look at a situation, think, and you generate what is the next action. So I call that actionable service education rather than customer service training. And that really is the foundation. And that kind of education is not just for customer facing colleagues. It's got to be for everybody, maybe especially the people who are the internal service providers, human resources, finance, IT, facilities, administration. Those people are serving the people who serve the customer. And if you're just trying to get the people who serve the customer to give their customers better service, but they aren't experiencing better service from the internal service providers, you're going to create frustration and tension. The people who face the customer, they know service is important because they're the ones who hear the complaints. But when was the last time that the IT, HR, finance department actually thought of themselves as contributing to customer delight? Well, they have to look at their own work as service providers, and the recipients, like we talked about before, are their colleagues. So what is the experience that my colleagues are getting from and for the service that we provide? Now, building a culture, I mean, we have an entire architecture that's written about in my book, Uplifting Service, and I talk about it in a lot of the videos on YouTube. Building the architecture is the foundation of actionable service education. 12 service culture building blocks. Everything from who do you recruit and how do you onboard them to what do you recognize and how do you communicate and what do you do with voice of customer and what's your policy and procedure when things go wrong. There's 12 of those areas. And just to zoom in on like one of them, to give you an example and answer your question, what can a leader do? How do people win awards in your organization? Well, if you're a customer service, and you sell things, of course, the sales department has bonuses. The sales department has contests. You can win awards for being the top salesperson. That's easy to calibrate. It's easy to calculate. But let's say you're an internal service provider. Does your organization have an award that can only be won by more than one department? Because the two departments decided to come together and improve the way they serve each other. What would you even call that? The Internal Improvement and Service Collaboration Award? And how often is it delivered? Is it once a year? Is it every quarter? And which departments, show up as like, yeah, we're the department that likes to work with other departments to improve our service and improve our experience of the service that you provide to us. Well, imagine if you actually brought that, and it's just one example out of probably hundreds that we have from 30 years of working with clients, where after you've done that for a while, you're going to start to notice which departments are not participating in that contest, are not contributors or winners of that award. And then if you're the leader, you've got an interesting conversation to have with whoever is the department head of those departments who aren't participating in department to department service improvement. Because, hey, baby, that's where internal culture is experienced. And I'll give you one more example in the awards category. Can anybody in your organization actually win an award, recognition, acknowledgement, appreciation, certificate, handshake with the CEO for doing a great service recovery? Like something went wrong, but the way we handled that was mwah. And so we actually give an award for that. We didn't make any more money from it. In fact, it probably cost us money, and it didn't really produce, great social media positive stuff, but it prevented pain. Well, if you have a culture of continuously uplifting service, those are two examples of just one activity in one building block. And the final piece about culture is you got to get your leadership team to understand what the heck we're trying to do here. They've got to become proficient in the language. They've got to be able to support all of their other people when they are getting the education that they need, coming up with new ideas, and be the leader that goes, that sounds great. Let's talk about that. How do we make it even more effective and powerful?
That was
That was a
so
long
powerful.
answer, eh?
Yeah. Oh, it was very powerful. In fact, one of the points that you touch brings to my last question, which was service recovery. So no matter how big or how great the brand is, sometimes they will face this situation. One of the customers will be unhappy at some time, no matter how well oiled machinery you are running. So what's the most powerful way in your experience to turn a dissatisfied customer into a loyal advocate?
So we created a model, and in our curriculum, which is part of that foundation of actionable service education, there's an entire model there called Bounce with service recovery. And here's how it works. If someone is your customer first time and everything goes right, their loyalty to you goes up a little bit. And then if they're a customer again, nothing goes wrong, their loyalty may go up a little bit. And if they come for a third time and it all is satisfactory, their loyalty to you goes a little bit. But they may not tell people because they just had 3 interactions and everything went the way it was supposed to go. But let's say the next time something goes wrong, the loyalty to you is going to drop like a rock, and they're going to tell a lot of other people. Okay, that's a service recovery situation. Yikes. First step, fix the problem. I mean, do whatever you need to do as quickly as possible. Doesn't matter what the cause is. Fix the customer's problem. Now, let me ask you, from the customer's point of view, if there was a problem and you fixed the problem, are they supposed to be delighted about that? No, because from their point of view, the problem should have never happened anyway. So when you fix the problem, that's just a little bit. I mean, it's a bare minimum, and the loyalty may come up a little bit. If you fix the problem and you show that you're concerned and you care, you say, hey, I want to let you know, genuinely sorry about this, sincerely apologize, understand the inconvenience, recognize that this was unexpected. In other words, like you were asking before about humans, this is a human to human part. You've got to demonstrate you really do give a darn, right? There's empathy there. You realize the other person, in a sense, suffered a difficult situation. So if you fix the problem and you show that you care, you could get the loyalty back to where it was before. Like, you just bounce up a bit. But if you do something extra, if you do a little bit more, you could get what I call the bounce, where the loyalty goes even higher than if the problem had never happened. And by something more, I don't mean a cheaper price. And okay, it's a restaurant, they give you the free dessert. I mean, it's that kind of thing. Or the manager comes around and he says, I'd love to see you back again. Give us another chance to make this right. Let me take my business card right here on the back, 50% off, all food at their next visit. You sign it, give it over. We'd love to see you again. Whoa, we didn't expect it. Oh, and by the way, you're pretty sure that person's going to be coming back. It could be even something just like a follow-up phone call. Hi, this is the department head. Yeah, I understand that last week. I'm just calling personally to check. Is everything okay? Did we do a good job on that? Okay, we recognize that we've improved our process, our procedure, blah, blah, blah. Whatever that something extra is. It was unexpected by the customer. It was after the problem was solved. You'd already demonstrated that you were concerned and you care. And that something extra can produce what I call the loyalty bounce. And that's what you're after. And that's why service recovery situations are huge opportunities to generate loyal advocacy and ambassadors amongst your customers.
Creating loyalty bounce, very Amazing advice, I would say that, in service recovery. Thank you, Ron. Ron, we have reached the end of the discussion. We usually have a rapid fire, but our 30 minutes that we had booked are over. So, is it okay I do the rapid fire, or we can just let it go?
Oh, bang, 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 rapid. I won't answer so long, I promise.
Great. So this is round two, which is very short, quick, rapid fire questions. I've got 5 questions for you. You need to just quickly respond with
Boom,
whatever
boom,
comes
boom,
to your
shoot.
mind. Absolutely. You are a morning person or a night owl?
Used to be a night owl. Now I'm a morning person. I like to go to sleep a little earlier, but I don't always make it to the pillow.
And what is your comfort food?
Singaporean tau hui. It's a warm, soft tofu dish, but I get it with no extra sugar.
Oh, nice. And do you like books or podcasts?
Absolutely books. I read at least a book every week, and I don't listen to many podcasts. Too brief, too shallow.
And if you are given an opportunity to travel anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Right where I am.
Singapore.
No, this Earth, this planet, this travel schedule, this range of cultures and countries and people I've had the privilege of meeting, right here.
And finally, which is the TV show or a movie that you would like to watch again and again and again? You'll never get tired.
I've never watched a TV show or a movie again and again and again because
which is the
there's
book?
so much more to discover. Never.
So tell me, which is the book, because you are passionate about book. Which is the book that you would like to read again and again and again?
You know, I've read so many books that are not only nonfiction but also fiction. But there are
Whatever comes top of your mind.
so many classics that I haven't yet read. So right now I'm in Hemingway and Charles Dickens and a Chinese author, and I don't so much go back and read the book, but I do like to write down key phrases, and I have a little book just full of phrases, and I like to go back and read through that.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Ron. Heartfelt thank you for all the insights, all the experience, expertise that you have shared around culture, how organizations can develop a customer service culture within them. So I'm sure our listeners would benefit a lot. There was a lot of wisdom in what you talked about, starting with love to ending with bounds that you can create with the customers. So much appreciated, and have a good day.
Thank you very much. Thank you.